Time for Focus now. And in the last 3 weeks, Kabul has endured no less than 3 terrorist attacks, with the May 31st truck bomb being one of the deadliest in Afghanistan's history, with at least 150 people dead and more than 300 others injured in one single blast. Despite decades of foreign aid and Western military supervision, the security situation in the Afghan capital seems to be deteriorating at an alarming rate. Not only is the Afghan government losing ground to the Taliban Islamist insurgency, the Islamic State group has also begun unleashing its own brand of terror on the country. Our team on the ground sent us this report.
The last thing Hamad heard was the massive explosions that ruptured his eardrums. While he miraculously survived being so close to the blasts, he's been left traumatized and says he's unlikely to recover his hearing.
The suicide bomber was right in front of me. The prayer had just began and someone shouted, "Allahu Akbar." I ducked immediately.
Hundreds of people like Hamad have been flowing into Kabul's hospitals, following the bloodiest week in the capital for 17 years. More than 170 people have been killed, and even the overwhelmed medical facilities themselves are being targeted by extremists. Some of them are considering halting their operations as it's become too dangerous. The World Health Organization in Kabul has been holding crisis talks.
To handle the situation, and we see the same. These insecurity issues are no longer respecting the hospitals, and they're doing it right in front of hospitals.
Many hospital staff have been told not to come to work as it's too unsafe.
As the international staff, they had some limitations of movement outside the offices, and the same thing with the national staff coming to the office. There were certain limitations due to security situation.
Just to be out in the streets of Kabul can prove fatal. But these young people are forced to take the risk as they're desperately in need of work. Every day they come to this roundabout and wait, hoping that someone will hire them. In Afghanistan, unemployment is at 40%.
I've been here a month and I still haven't found work. I can work in construction, but there are no offers.
There are barbaric things happening here. There is no investment, only violence. In these kind of conditions, the businessmen aren't investing. They are afraid, and of course this prevents jobs from being created for workers. It's all connected.
And when a potential employer does arrive, he soon gets mobbed by the crowd. Without work or future prospects, many of these young men are highly susceptible to being recruited by terror groups that are willing to pay large sums. The authorities say the first step towards preventing radicalization is securing Kabul.
First, we have to focus on improving security in Kabul. After that, we will secure the major cities and provinces. We will add checkpoints, security and scanners at the gates of Kabul.
There are dozens more young Afghans at the gates of the city, but they've already given up hope of making a life within its walls and have bought one-way tickets out of the country. Samad, Azim and 14 others from their village are heading for Iran. Once there, they're hoping to make it to Turkey and then seek asylum in Europe.
There are too many clashes in our province. People are dying, houses are destroyed by terrorists.
What's the point in getting an education? The Taliban are burning our schools. We're more likely to survive if we leave the country.
The United Nations reported record numbers of civilian deaths, casualties and internal displacement in Afghanistan over the past 2 years. Since the 2001 US-led invasion, the situation has never been worse, and there is little hope of sustainable peace in the near future.
And joining me now is Patricia Lalonde, an Afghan specialist who's currently in Strasbourg here in France. Patricia, it seems wherever there's chaos and a power vacuum, you're certain to find the Islamic State group operating. Just how much has this jihadist group successfully infiltrated the Taliban?
Yes, this is a very scary situation now in Afghanistan, because I think that the most important thing is that the national unity government is very weak at this time. The government of Mr. Ashraf Ghani and Mr. Abdullah, they are not going very well together, and this is very disappointed, and it is very disappointed, especially for the population, because they cannot move ahead, giving job to the young people, having security, even inside Kabul. So the situation is terrible. And now what is the more concerning thing is that ISIS, Daesh, is coming in Afghanistan now, infiltrating some of the Taliban, especially the hardline Taliban, those who have been pushed, if I can say like this, by the Pakistani groups like Haqqani. I mean, and the other thing I want to point out is that the fact that Gulbuddin Bakhtiar, who was a warlord during the civil war against Ahmad Shah Massoud, was coming back in Afghanistan two months ago, and he is now part of not of the government, but he's working there. And some say that the Daesh people or ISIS people are infiltrated in this story. So this is very, very scary.
And there's also claims that the Afghan army itself could be infiltrated.
Yes.
I mean, as a result, it could mean that the whole of the country's security has indeed been compromised.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's why it is important to have a very strong government, which is not the case now. Even the Afghan army is infiltrated. Between Ghani and Abdullah, the decisions are not on the same path. So that is why this situation is very dangerous now in Afghanistan.
So what can the international community do?
Oh my God! I think that the international community failed to arrange really what was going on during the last election, when there was so many fraud, and so this election was not fair, and that's why they were obliged to organize this government of national unity, which is not working now. So I think we have to wait. Next election will be held within 2 years, and between them, I don't think that this government could stay. So perhaps we have to organize something very important. What is going on now? So there is fighting between the ethnic faction, between the Pashtun, between the Hazara. So that is very difficult. So we have to again perhaps find a way like a new Loa Jirga, which is a traditional institution in Afghanistan, to try to gather all the ethnic parts, and perhaps to wait for the new election. I don't know. I think that is the
Patricia Lalonde, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much.
Okay.
And that's it for this edition. Do stay with us here on France 24.